Well, okay, let's go ahead and get started here. Good morning, and thank you everybody for joining another Control Products webinar. This will help to provide some more product and application information about long-range RFID. This webinar is being recorded, so if you choose not to be on the recorded webinar, please jump off now, and we'll have a recording available for you that we can get in your hands later on. Today, we have our supplier partner, EMX, that provides various products and solutions to controlled products and to our customers. But today, we're going to be focusing primarily on the RFID products and accessories. With that said, I would like to introduce Scott Bruce from EMX.
Thank you, Butch.
Yes.
Hey, everybody, welcome. Like Butch said, my name is Scott Bruce. I'm with EMX Industries, and today we are going to focus on the RFID products and application, and just give you a little bit of a background on what is RFID, how it works, and then most specifically how it's used in our industry. And Butch and his team, Zach, thank you for this. They're going to be monitoring the Q&A portion of the webinar. So go ahead, as I'm talking, feel free to answer questions. They'll go ahead and stop me, butt in, and we can address those questions live on the webinar. So today's agenda, talked about it a little bit, but little introduction to RFID, the role in the access control industry, specifically our industry. We'll talk about some of the products that we manufacture and design that are RFID specific, and then talk a little bit about what separates our RFID products from other competitors in the industry. A little bit of background about EMX before we get started for anybody that doesn't know who we are. We were established in 1987. All of our manufacturing, engineering, and designing is done in Cleveland, Ohio. All the products that we're going to talk about today are made here at our facility in Cleveland, Ohio, so they are made in the US. Couple of things that we do specific at EMX is our products from start to finish, from concept to getting them out the door. We really try to design our products with the installers in mind, the people that are actually using them and installing them in the field. We pride ourselves on being flexible, products being flexible and universal, meaning multiple applications, and being universal to work with other manufacturers in the industry to complement them. Easy, we try our best to be easy to do business with, whether that's an RMA, tech support, or just general being easy to do business with. We want to make our products easy to use as well. So we're always looking for improvements on our owner's manuals, operators manuals, things like that. So without getting feedback from the installers, we can't keep making things and improving on things. So please let us know what you'd like to see at the end of this as well. And then customizable. Because we design all of our products here in Cleveland and we manufacture in the United States, we're very versatile and customizable, more so than probably anybody else in the industry. Some of the markets that we sell into today: automatic gate and door, which everybody should be familiar with on this call. But we also sell into security, the car wash markets. We make products for the drive-through industry and fast food, parking. And then we also have another portion of the business, which is industrial automation sensors, anything from inline detection and quality control. So it could be something as simple as detecting the plastic tape on a pharmaceutical bottle heading down the manufacturing line. So we do that as well. How does that fit into everything else? Well, it's optoelectronic sensors. So that's really our specialty. We have four main product categories at EMX: photo eyes, through beam, and retroreflective. Safety products, our most common being a wireless safety edge link. And then vehicle detection, anything around vehicle detection. So we manufacture a product in pretty much every technology that's used to detect vehicles. microwave, traditional induction loops, magnetoresistive, magnometer, and even radar now, time of flight radar. And then a whole other portion of our business is RFID. So we manufacture not just the readers and the controllers, but also the tags and credentials for RFID. So to start the presentation off, what is RFID? So RFID stands for radio frequency identification. We use this technology every day. It's used as an ID tag on library books or as a security tag on clothing at a retail store. RFID is all around us. It makes it very easy to check the ID number of an object or product at long range without having direct line of sight to that product. There's two main parts to every RFID system. There's the tag or credential. We use those terms interchangeably, and then also the reader. There's a third piece that we'll introduce a little bit later, which is the door control system. But the main two pieces that make up an RFID system is the reader itself and the tags. So there's a couple of different tags. There's active, which is what a lot of people, you'll see this for your toll tags, is the most common place you're going to see an active tag. The difference between an active tag and passive tag is an active tag has power. It's being battery powered. So an active tag is actively transmitting a signal constantly. So the most common place you're going to see that is your toll tags. And the reason for that, you can get a very long range, 50 to 100 feet of range for active tags. We do manufacture a small line of active tags, but this is something that's almost going away completely in the industry because the battery does have a shelf life and it wears out. The other thing that's RFID are proximity readers. So your key fob that you use to get into an office building or a parking garage, it could be a card in your wallet. That's RFID as well. That's just a shorter range RFID frequency. So typically you have to get right up to the reader or even touch the reader. So that's very short range. We manufacture those as well, but that's not something we're talking about today. What we're talking about today is Gen 2 RFID. So Gen 2 is going to be your generic term for the tags and RFID readers that we use and we see in our industry. So when we talk about long-range RFID in the access control industry, it's almost always exclusive to Gen 2. They do not require batteries. They have a long detection range up to 30 feet, depending on the reader and the environment. They're less expensive to produce than active tags because there is no battery. And then they can come in all sorts of different forms. Because we don't have a battery, you can put this on a hang tag, you can put it on a windshield, you could put it on a very small tag on a medical instrument if you needed. So what is Gen 2 used for? This type of technology is going to be in everything on inventory and asset management. So it could just be the ID tag for a product coming into your warehouse or on steel processing coils, anywhere they're tracking large amounts of products in the warehouse. And it can be scanned. The tags can be used with a reader that's fixed or a portable handheld reader. They're also used in laundry tracking for hotels, just giving you some examples here. So like Cintas will sew Gen 2 RFID tags into employee uniforms so they know how many times those uniforms have been through the wash, similar to hotel sheets, so that they know the life expectancy of that clothing or those sheets and when to get rid of them and how many times they've been through the wash. They're even used on signs for races, 5Ks, and any type of racing. There's going to be a small RFID tag on your number there that you would put on your chest. Just try to give you guys some examples of where this technology is used. For our industry specifically, Most of the time, uh, long range RFID is going to be used for vehicle identification. Anything from getting into a parking garage to an office building, gated community or facility like that. And then sometimes for higher end residential use, it could be for an HOA community, but then also we're seeing more RFID being adopted in high end residential use where people just want a nice hands-free, secure way to get into their gate or their estate, something like that. And then in the office place, workplace. So RFID is everything from the front door to if you have a large engineering lab or a more secure facility, they're using RFID to allow certain employees in certain sections of the building. So what I want to do here is just give everybody a background of how a typical RFID system works. So for this, we'll use the example of an automatic gate. So you have your gate controller down there on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. The little black box is, or the little black line is the gate. And typically, you're going to have a control panel, we call a door controller or a gate controller, wired into that gate opener or operator. You're going to have a RFID reader. In this case, we use the Patriot MR as an example, our newest reader, which is the same size housing as a Well 200. And it's going to be tied into that door controller using Wiegand interface. This is the most common way to wire a reader to the control panel. It's going to be 3 wires, and it'll be Wiegand interface. There's 2 ways to set the reader up, trigger mode or constant read mode. Constant read mode, that reader is just always going to be constantly sending a signal out into the air, looking for a tag or some other form of credential out there for a signal back. But in our industry, usually it's set up in trigger mode. And what that means is a loop detector, a photo eye, a radar sensor, anything to detect a vehicle is also wired into that reader. And what that's for is telling that reader to turn on when it sees a vehicle in the designated area. So in this case, we have a loop detector with a loop in the ground. You're going to have the tag. Typically, this tag would be on a vehicle. It's always sleeping. It's a passive tag. As the vehicle approaches the loop sensor, it's in detection mode. It's triggering the reader to turn on, come to life. The reader will start sending out signal. It's looking for the RF antenna on that tag to reflect that signal back. And it's specifically looking for a couple of things. It's looking for a facility code and a tag ID. Each tag is going to have a unique facility code and a tag ID. The tag ID is the ID of the tag that can be, you can assign that tag ID someone's name or a vehicle or a fleet, and then the facility code, you can assign it to a location. So it says, hey, I have facility code 123, ID 12345. I'm here. It goes back to the reader. The reader takes that facility code, sends it to the control panel. That's the brains of the operation. The control panel, if that facility code and tag is programmed into the control panel, it's going to say, I see you. If it's been assigned a name, like for instance, this is Mark's car, that's Mark's car, and we're going to allow entry because that's a good tag. Now, if another car from another facility that it isn't programmed into that control panel would pull up, the same thing would happen. The reader would read the tag. It would read the facility code and the tag ID. In this case, the facility code matches, but the tag ID does not match what's been saved in the control panel for credentials for entry. This could have been because maybe an employee was removed from the facility or someone didn't pay their subscription that month and that tag was moved out of the control panel. So in this case, it reads the tag, it reads the facility code, but it doesn't allow entry to the gate. There's several key features that are related to our readers and everyone else's. So this is a very good slide that I want everybody to remember. If you don't take anything away from the rest of this presentation, take this slide away, because there's two main antennas on any reader in the industry. There's a linear standard antenna and there's a circular polarized antenna. We make a product with we make a product with a linear antenna and we make a product with a circular polarized antenna. The big difference is for a linear antenna, it's going to send a signal out, a linear signal out. What that means is it's looking for a tag to come back with the same signal, meaning tag orientation, how it's put on the vehicle is very important. For a linear antenna, the tag has to be mounted in the same direction as the antenna. So some manufacturers will have a linear antenna mounted vertically and some are mounted horizontally. So what that means is if the manufacturer has a linear antenna in their RFID reader and they have that mounted horizontally, that means tags need to be mounted horizontally on the vehicle to read as well. There is a possibility that the tag will still read, but it's going to be at a significantly reduced read range if it doesn't match the orientation of the antenna. That's fine for instances where you're deploying tags and you can control the deployment and orientation of the tag. For instance, if you had an HOA facility with only 50 cars, you were deploying 50 tags, and say the security gate or the guard who's responsible for deploying those tags is making sure they're all being mounted on the vehicle the same way, in the same orientation, they're not going to have any problems. That usually doesn't work in our environment. Typically, you as the installer, you're going to get the tags, you're going to deploy them, and then from there to your customer, and then from there your customer is going to give them to the HOA, and then people are going to put them on their car however they see fit. I've seen them mounted vertically, horizontally, sideways, you name it. So to combat that, we make a reader with a circular polarized antenna. So what's happening now is that signal's coming out of the reader as in a corkscrew fashion. And because that signal is spinning like a corkscrew, it doesn't really care how the tag is mounted on the vehicle. A circular polarized antenna and signal can pick up a vertical tag and a horizontal tag. Now, it will pick up both of them, but in pretty much all applications and in all environments, best practice is to usually make sure the tags are mounted vertically. And it's funny because if you start looking around now, if you're used to RFID tags, especially mounted on cars, especially the sticker versions or the windshield tags, you're going to see a tendency that most tags are mounted horizontally. In reality, they should all be mounted vertically. You're always going to get a little bit better read range if the tag's mounted vertically. But it's still okay to mount them horizontally with a circular polarized antenna because of the signal that's coming out. There's two other ways to set the reader up. This is important as well. Most readers come out of the box in constant read rate, right? So they're just constantly sending a signal out no matter what. Usually that isn't a problem, but it could be a problem in a low-level parking garage where you have a lot of concrete and interference, and you have an entry and exit gate right next to each other, and those readers are constantly sending signals and bouncing off of each other. So the way you combat that is you put the reader in trigger mode. And all that means is you're using another device to turn that reader on once a vehicle is detected. It could be as simple as a photo eye. A lot of times it's in-ground loops. We see free exit probes, radar sensors, anything to detect that vehicle and turn the reader on would be a trigger. The way readers communicate to door controllers is typically Wiegand. 90% of the time we see Wiegand. A communication device, communication protocol that we're seeing more and more of is OSDP. If you haven't heard of it yet, you are going to come across it. It's a much more secure protocol than Wiegand. Our readers have OSDP built on board. So because of that, if you were to install an EMX reader at a facility using Wiegand, and then 2 years later, that facility wants to become more secure for whatever reason, maybe they got some government projects or things like that, or it became a government building, they're going to want to switch to OSDP. Our readers have that built on board, so you wouldn't have to change the reader out. You would just change the wiring of it. And then we also offer RS-232 or RS-485, and then Wi-Fi plus TCP, IP, Ethernet. Couple of examples of our reader. We'll save the best, and we'll go with the best first, is the Patriot E. So if you've seen our readers before, a lot of times you've seen the Patriot E. It's a little bit different than the traditional footprint of a square reader, and the reason for that is it has a circular polarized antenna. You can always tell that from our housings. We do make a Patriot L. That is going to be your standard linear antenna, and that has the square housing. Remember, if it was up to me, I would just always use a circular polarized antenna. That way you're always going to have less callbacks and issues in the field, and tag deployment and mounting doesn't matter as much with a circular polarized antenna. And then the third reader we offer is the Patriot MR. That stands for mid-range. So the Patriot E is a long-range reader. The Patriot L is a long-range reader. In our industry, long-range means roughly 30 feet. Patriot MR, you're getting around that 10, 15 feet for mid-range. Because of that, it also comes in a significantly smaller housing. Anybody that's familiar with our Well 200, this is the same size housing as our Well 200. It's about a 5x5 housing. It's like 5.25 by 4.5 or so. Your standard reader size is going to be more of a foot by foot, 13 inches by 13 inches or so. So the Patriot MR, where it fits is applications where they don't need the longer range, but they don't want as big of a footprint. So maybe a higher end office or a higher end residential building or even a home to where they can hide the reader, but they know that train traffic's getting close enough that they don't need the extended 30 feet of range. Tags, credentials. There's several different ones to know about out there. These are examples of ours, but it's the same for anybody. So typically a windshield tag is going to be a sticker-based tag that can be customized. You can put any type of logo that you want on there. Most of the time they're designed to be self-destructive. What that means is once it's placed on the window, if someone tries to peel it off, they can't transfer it from vehicle to vehicle. It'll be destroyed when they peel it off. Hang tags, they're going to hang from the rear view mirror traditionally. I will say if you have customers that they only care about read range and they want to get the longest read range every single time, there's nothing on the market that's better than a hang tag. It's always mounted vertically. It also has the biggest footprint for an antenna inside that tag. So you're always going to get the longest read range with a hang tag. Another tag, what we call the Viper tag. This is a combination between a windshield and a headlamp or other areas of the vehicle. So it has the way the antenna is designed there. It's clear, so it could be mounted on a headlamp, so the light will still shine through. It could be mounted on a window. We also have a lot of customers that mount it underneath the driver's side mirror. If you have a higher end vehicle, they don't want stickers all over their vehicles. With the Viper tag, it's strong enough you can mount this under the driver's side mirror and hide it. ISOM cards, same thing. You're going to get the read range of the other credentials, but you could have the card. So if they don't want the credential attached to a vehicle, say you have a director and he's directing multiple facilities, and he needs access to all those facilities. He's never in the same vehicle. A tag for him might be an ISOM card that he carries in his wallet, and he can pull out and hold in front of his windshield when he's entering the facility. And then metal mount tags. So one thing to keep in mind, RFID and metal do not mix. Metal blocks out RFID. So if you have any of these other tags that I just talked about and you place them directly on a metal surface, the read range, it's either not going to read at all or the range is going to be significantly reduced. So to overcome that, we manufacture a tag that's specifically designed to be mounted directly on metal. Traditionally, this is used at airports where they have tow motors, fork trucks, construction sites, or a large construction company yard where they have a bunch of dump trucks, things like that, that they're tracking RFID. We can make a tag that can be mounted directly on metal, and that's what we call the metal mount tag. Our newest reader, the Patriot MR, which I talked a little bit about, I want to take some time to update you guys. This came out about a month ago. It's something we've been working on for a little bit over a year, and it is a mid-range reader, so it doesn't give you the traditional 30 feet of range. So where you give up range, you gain in size. So it's very small, compact housing and size. So has all the same features of our long range reader, the Patriot E and L. It does have a circular polarized antenna like the Patriot E, so it's going to read credentials in every orientation. But it gives you a shorter read range, but it's much smaller. All of these readers that I talked about earlier, the Patriot E, Patriot L, and now the Patriot MR, they work with all of our tags, and they'll work with pretty much any Gen 2 tags moving forward. The only thing you would need to do is specify if it wasn't our tags specifically, if it was another manufacturer's tags, we just need to know that at the point of order. Few applications on where you would use the Patriot MR. Car wash is a big one. So the housing is so small, it's designed to be mounted inside a kiosk or pay station. Today, if you pull up to a hotel, car wash even, parking garage, you always have your pay station where you can get your ticket. If you start looking at those a little bit closer, they usually make some form of it could be completely clear or a sticker. And then there's usually a prox card reader behind that. Um, so what this would do is it would replace the prox card. So now instead of rolling your window down and reaching out and touching your prox card to the kiosk or the pay station, you could have a tag mounted on your vehicle, or you could have an ISOM card in your wallet. You could leave your window up so it's a more secure site, or you could make it hands-free and pull up to the kiosk or the parking garage and get that read and access with a small Patriot MR reader. And the other thing is gated communities. It's tough to see, but you could have on the far right-hand side here, you could have that Patriot MR reader kind of behind the flowers, hidden away. It doesn't take away from the aesthetics of a beautiful gate like a large reader would. One things that, as I'm out there and I talk to people, a lot of people that work on automatic gates, don't do RFID. And my question is always like, why? You're out there, you're controlling the access to the facility, you're installing the gate. There's no reason why you should be giving up a sale to install RFID. If anything, you can purchase the RFID equipment from CPSG, install it, set it up for your customer, and then call them and let them know that they can call their security integrator or whoever handles their door control system to tie everything at the end and program all the tags. So you have that option. Or you could do that yourself, but at the very minimum, you could always supply the reader in the tags. It's very simple. Traditionally, there aren't any settings that you need to adjust. Out of 9 out of 10 applications, you're literally going to mount the reader. You're going to point it to where the vehicle needs to be detected. You're going to pull out a test tag that comes with the reader. As long as that reader flashes the blue light and gives an audible beep with that test tag, you know that it's sending the signal. So you're good. You can literally walk away at that point. You have power and it's reading tags. And then they could call in their integrator to finish the installation and program all the tags into the controllers if that's not something that you're into. One thing to keep in mind, we call it the 18-inch rule because RFID is a signal, it's a radio signal. You always want that reader to be generally 18 inches away from any solid metal, meaning mounted. So you wouldn't want to mount a reader flush to a building, flat on the building's surface, and you wouldn't want the reader pointing directly at a big barrier arm or metal or concrete post or anything like that. You want to make sure that the signal is clear to the vehicle and that that reader's slightly off of any surface. So it does come with a mounting bracket, but to get you off of that surface. But if you're installing on a stanchion or a pole, you just want to make sure that it's a little bit away from the building. Generally, 18 inches is the best rule of thumb. We have customers that mount it closer and they have fine success with it, but it's just something to keep in mind. This is radio signal. So if you're in a small, tight area, you want to make sure that it's being directed right to where the vehicle should be detected and not bouncing around all over the place. All of our readers come with downloadable software off our website. The majority of time, if not even 9 out of 10, people don't even need to go into the software to make any adjustments. There's a few reasons why you would go in the software. You would need to go into the software if you were using someone else's tags besides EMX. So say you had Infinity tags on site, but you bought an EMX RFID reader, you would have to go into the software and set it up to read EMX and Infinity tags. It would just be a drop-down window and you would select that manufacturer's tags in addition to our tags. The other time that you would use the software, which is free by the way, and download it off our website, is if you had a parking garage or facility with very, very low ceilings, and you had a couple of readers pointed next to each other. The reason you would have an entry and exit lane very tight and close. You might want to go in and turn down the radio power so the signal's not so loud to reduce it bouncing off of anything. Most of the time, you never need to do that, but you do have the ability. And then you could mess with things like trigger mode, trigger extension, how long it holds the read for, how often it reads, things like that. That's usually in more special applications, but 9 out of 10 parking facilities or gated communities, you're never even going to need to go into the software. But we have it here in case you do need to do some modifications. On the right-hand side is the log screen. So let's say you had this software opened up on your computer, you had it connected to the reader, and you wanted to test different tags. On that log on the far right-hand side, you're going to see that's where it would populate your facility code and tag ID to let you know that it's reading those tags. If you wanted to turn the light off, the signal light that shows you a tag's been read, you could do that in this software as well. We also have an audible beep, so if it was close to a guard check and that guard didn't want to hear that beep all day long, you could turn that audible beep off in the software too. I don't show it here. Typically, if you wanted to use this software, it would be pulled up on your laptop. You'd be in the field and you'd be hardwired to the reader. We also have an app that's downloadable off our website or the Apple or Android store. So you could make all these adjustments in our app as well. So you don't even need to pull your laptop out. You don't even need to hardwire up to the reader. You would communicate from the app to the reader via Wi-Fi, meaning the reader doesn't need to have internet. It sends out its own Wi-Fi signal and that app connects to it. And then you can make these adjustments via the app as well. So makes it a little bit easier. You don't have to get on a ladder. You don't have to go out in the rain. Tags. To get a little bit more specific of the different tags that we manufacture, we talked about the hang tags. The big thing that we get a lot of requests for today is custom tags. So if you guys are working with a university or a hospital, a lot of times they want their logo on there. All of our tags can be customized except for the Viper. So the Viper in the top left there, that's going to be your windshield and headlamp tag. It's very small. It's designed, it's got a clear housing so the light can go through if it's on a headlamp. It can't be customizable, but you also don't see it. It's not really anywhere where you would want a logo on it. If they wanted a windshield tag with a custom logo, they would have to use our specific windshield tag. That's going to be, we have a plain white tag or logo. That's going to be your Tray 900 WS421 on the top right there. That can be custom logoed as well. And then to reiterate, we have our stealth metal mount tag. If it's a tow motor, a fork truck, dump truck, anywhere a tag is going to be on large, heavy equipment directly mounted to metal, they're always going to want to go with the stealth metal mount tags. And then the ISOM cards, it's really not that common, but we do have some customers that request them. Remember, those are going to be your cards that you can carry in your wallet. So we can do identification ones, we can do plain white ones. We can even do a combination one, meaning we can do a combination ISOM card and Prox card. So if they had a Prox reader and they had a long range RFID reader, but they only wanted to give out one credential, they could use a card with two different protocols on there to access that facility. So they might use the card to get in the gate for long range, and then they might use that same card as a Prox reader for the front door. Tag credentials and best mounting practices. I talked earlier about if you didn't take anything away today, take away the circular polarized versus standard linear antenna. This is the second thing. If you don't take anything away from this webinar, take this slide away. Best mounting practices for tags. All of our tags ship with this, but most of the time, by the time they make it to the end user, no one's reading it. And it leads to callback issues and field visits all the time because people will just pull a tag out and they'll mount it anywhere they see fit on their vehicle. And that's usually not a good practice. We say the best rule of thumb practice, if you don't do anything, is to take a piece of painter's tape and mount the tag and at least go through the car wash or the gated community one time to make sure it's reading, and then pull the adhesive off and place it on the vehicle. A lot of people won't do that. So if they don't do that, just make sure you mention it's a good rule of thumb to keep any tag about 2 inches away from metal. So if they're mounting it on the far driver's side window, just make sure you're getting it a little bit off of that metal post where the windshield is on the window. The other thing is a lot of new vehicles today, especially higher end vehicles, they make windshields that are designed specifically to block radio frequency. Because of that, there's usually always a little space underneath the rear view mirror where those particulates aren't in the windshield. You can see it on a sunny day. If you look at that space, it's not going to be as dark. It looks a little bit different than the rest of the windshield. That's always a good place to put a tag if you're mounting on the windshield. We talked about the third piece of an RFID system is the door controller. We do offer a door controller. Typically, this is going to be for 4 gates or 4 doors or less. You can daisy chain these together to have up to 8, 12, whatever. I always suggest if you have a facility that needs more than 4 doors, generally you're going to move to a more commercialized door controller. But we do offer the Defender. I'm not going to get too much into it. Just know that we have it. It does 4 doors or 4 gates, up to 20,000 users, and it can be programmed online or offline. It comes with its own software as well. It's free. This would be the brains of the information. This is where you would program the tags. The tags could be uploaded individually. They could be batch loaded by the reader. They could be uploaded via a spreadsheet. And then from there, you could also assign those tags direct employee ID numbers or names or what have you. Uh, it also would set up all of your access control times, when the building's open, holidays, who can have access to the building at a certain period of time or a room at a certain period of time. Everything any other door controller does on the market, it does the same thing. But really, this is a simple low-cost version for 4 gates or 4 doors or less. Like I said, if you're getting into a large facility where they're managing 12 door openings or 20 door openings, typically you're always going to want to go to a more commercialized system. So some of the things we cover today, what separates EMX and RFID products from everybody else in the industry. One of the biggest ones is the app, the phone app. So what that allows you to do is make adjustments and configuration to the reader when you're in the field without even getting out of the truck. You don't have to hardwire, which is really nice. It's very convenient. You can also see what's going on if you're trying to troubleshoot in that app. We build it all of our standard communications onto all of our readers. So that's Wiegand, OSDP, TCP, IP. If you need that, you have to order it. It's the Ethernet cable. That's a separate part number. But the big thing is going from Wiegand to OSDP, you don't have to specify in that unit. So if you have a Patriot E, and you install it using Weekend, and then 2 years later the customer wants to go to a more secure facility, you can always just go in and switch it and rewire it for OSDP. We have a 2-year warranty on all of our products. They're all made in the United States. And then a big thing for the readers and the tags, we have a 2 to 3 day lead time for readers and tags because we make them right here in Ohio. We can turn them around pretty quickly. For anybody that's used us in the past or planning on using us, you've probably seen that we've been pretty active with updates and improvements in 2025. A couple of things I want to cover here are those improvements. We've been pretty busy. Now starting with the Patriot E, if you get a Patriot E reader or a Patriot L, but generally I would always go with the Patriot E because of the circular polarized antenna. We do have the ability to read in those readers Infinity, NEDAP, and Rose layer tags now, in addition to EMX tags. So what I mean by that is if you have a facility that has 2,000 Infinity tags, they're not happy with the performance or the reader and they want to switch to an EMX reader, but they don't want to do a complete tag redeployment or buy all new tags. They can install an EMX reader, go into the settings and software adjustments, select Infinity. When you select Infinity, it's going to read Infinity tags in addition to EMX tags. So it saves the customer some money. They don't have to roll out all new tags. And then as they need new tags moving forward, they could use EMX tags. We also have the ability to print Infinity, NEDAP, and Rose layer credentials on our Viper tags and other tags that you saw earlier. So what that means is, say you like our Viper tag, but you have an Infinity reader and Infinity tags in the field, but the customers really like our Viper tag because of how it looks and how it mounts and the performance they get. Well, you could call us and tell us, hey, I want this amount of Viper tags, but I need them to be Infinity format so the Infinity reader reads them. We can do that as well for Infinity, NEDAP, and Rossler. The next thing that you're going to see coming out here at the end of Q4, beginning Q1, is new encryption with EMX readers too. So most people think that when you're stealing a tag, you're just taking it off the window of the car, or you're breaking into a car and taking it off the rearview mirror if it's a hang tag. But really, most people get into areas by skimming a tag. You can build a $10 device off of a few parts that you get from eBay, stand outside someone's house or gated community, wait for a car to go by, and you can skim that tag right off their windshield, take that device, and then use it to print a new tag in 2 minutes, and then walk right into that facility. Anybody that's been hearing about some of these NFL players, how their houses get broken into, or at least they get in the gate, that's how they do it. They skim the tag. So then there's no way for the reader or anyone to know that that tag has been stolen. They've been essentially just duplicate it onto another tag. Going forward, we've been working with, well, what I can say is we've been working with certain government encryption companies. So moving forward, we'll also, our tags will not be able to be skimmable. Right now, you can skim every single person's tag in our industry. There's not one that's encrypted that you can't skim or scan. But moving forward, we'll be the first and only to be unskimmable based off of the technology today. You're also going to see a new app in about 2 weeks. So there'll be a notification. We're working with our app developers now to let you know if you open our current app to tell you to go download the new updated version. And all that's going to do is it's just going to give you more features and functions in the app. It's going to work a little bit better. It's going to be a little bit easier to navigate. So keep an eye out for that. That's coming. We launched the Patriot MR, which I talked about earlier, which is our smaller reader. And then we're also in the process of redesigning housings for our Patriot e-readers. So if you have a customer that doesn't like the circular look or the frisbee look of the Patriot e-reader, but they still want the circular polarized antenna, not too far here, Q1, you'll be able to choose a different housing, meaning it'll be the same reader, same software, functionality, everything on the inside, but they could choose between maybe 3 to 4 different housings if they wanted a different look. So if they wanted it to match or blend in with their facility a little bit better, we'll have some options to put a different face covering or housing on there. Last but not least, new products. So the MRD1P has been released and launched as well. Where this fits into this presentation is this could be used as a trigger device or a vehicle detector for an RFID system. Think of it as a single-sided photo beam that doesn't require a reflector on the other end. The distance can be set all the way out to 30 feet, and then it would ignore everything on the opposite end. So say you had this at a parking facility, the facility had a 10-foot opening, you could teach the sensor or tell the sensor, hey, it's got a 10-foot opening, and then it ignores everything past 10 feet. So really the same functionality to IRB RET2 photo eye, but it doesn't need a reflector. It's kind of how to describe that. Just keep in mind that we have it. It does do pulse on entry or pulse on exit, so it could be an arming loop for an RFID system as well. And then just to recap what we talked about today, our products have 2-day lead times for tags, 2 days for readers, usually 2 to 3, and everything that we talked about is made in the United States. So I'm going to open it up to Q&A, and we'll go from there.
Anyone have any questions that they have not asked yet? While you may be thinking of some questions, I'd just like to say one thing that I really, really enjoy about working with EMX is, they obviously have great performing, very reliable products, but the fact that they listen to the market, they're very innovative, and we've seen with the few years that they have been providing RFID solutions, they've taken that product and really made some significant enhancements, and also just some other product functionality that you may not see with other competitors out there, and things that are more in line with the way the technology is changing and what customers are looking for in the field. So hats off to EMX for really again, listening to the market and making changes based on what the market needs versus what their engineering crew thinks should be done.
Thanks, Butch. One of the changes that came out of that and listening to the market is anybody on the call, our number one RMA return or tech call that we get for our RFID readers is no Wiegand output. 9.9% out of 10 times when we get the reader back and do an evaluation on it, it's because the Wiegand wires were hooked up to power and the Wiegand was fried. So a couple of things. One, make sure you're taking the time to look at the color of the wires before you hook up to power to make sure you're not accidentally hooking up to the Wiegand wires because the shades are a little bit close. So we are in the process of changing the colors on those wires, but then also we're installing like a block on the Wiegand wires to where if you do accidentally hook the Wiegand wires up to power, it won't fry the Wiegand output on the unit anymore. It can be repaired. It's easily repairable. If we get it back under warranty, we would just repair it and ship it back out to you. But that's the number one reason that we get returns on our readers. It's because maybe somebody was in a hurry or it was dimly lit and they hooked Wiegand wires up to power.
Good information. Scott, we do have a question here. Can the MDR be used as a free exit device?
MRD1P, yes, it can. We can do pulse on exit.
Any other questions out there? Well, again, I'd like to say thank you, Scott. Thank you, EMX. This has been a great RFID overview. Explain to all of us products that you have available for the RFID systems, applications where we'd use those products. So again, thank you very much. If someone has questions after this, you can certainly reach out to us at Control Products. The RFID group will be more than happy to help you with any questions you have and certainly can get you some quotes out the door right away.
Thanks, Butch. And then,
Yes.
yeah, if you guys are taking feedback or providing any feedback to Butch, we kept it pretty high level today. But if you would like to see a more technical presentation or a start to finish installation or more detailed on adjusting the software, like I said, more technical, hands-on, let us know. We'd be happy to work with CPSG in conjunction and get you some field training or more technical training. Or if there's an opportunity for a job site visit, let us know. We're happy to come out to the job site and walk you through step by step.
All right. Well, thank you, Scott, very much. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. And if you do need a copy of this webinar, let us know. We can shoot that out to you. But appreciate your time today and hope everybody has a good rest of the week.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.